We have 3 people here who graduated from Ithaca and Syracuse. They all now work at CBS/Paramount/Paramount Pictures/ whatever else Paramount has. And they are here in all different divisions. They all kind of started in either post-production, like editing, motion graphics, visual effects, things like that. They did that in college. And then when they got out into the real world, they found different paths to get to where they are today. So they're here to tell you about that journey and help you as you guys are kind of doing the same thing right now. So please welcome Jack and Tanner and Cammy. And I don't know who's going first.
I can start with a quick introduction, but hi everyone, I'm Cammy. I work at CBS in the marketing department, and Cammy and Tanner duo. We let us SUP like 2 years ago, fun fact. Also fun fact, in that SUP meeting, that was my first time ever touching After Effects, and Tanner taught me how to use it, and now I use it every single day in my job. But anyways, I'm a post-production coordinator at CBS in the marketing department. I graduated from Syracuse in 2022, and if I'm looking down, it's because our outline is on my phone right now, and I'm making sure I'm covering everything. And yeah, I'll let them go now.
My name is Jack Bavona. I am currently a VFX production assistant. We're working on a movie and TV show for Paramount Pictures right now. I work, like, sometimes people will work for production companies, but I actually directly work for Paramount Pictures. I majored in television, radio, and film at Syracuse University, and I graduated last spring.
And I'll go next. I'm Tanner. I work as a talent acquisition coordinator, specifically on the emerging talent team, which they hire all of the interns and early career positions within Paramount Global. So like all of the brands. Except for a few, which I'll kind of talk about later. But I graduated from IC. I was a film major there, and I graduated in 2021. So yeah, I was also a page on the Paramount Pictures lot too, and now I work at Paramount Global. All right, Cammy, do you want to hit it off?
Yeah, I can start off the more in-depth introduction. So basically talk about like when we got to LA and talk more about our jobs right now. But basically, so I graduated Syracuse in May. I didn't really start applying to jobs until around June, July, because my senior year was pretty hectic in Shayna's capstone, and I literally had zero time to do anything else but capstone. So I knew I was going to move to LA. I kind of knew that being a TRF major, it was either like LA or New York, and I wanted to go to LA. So I started applying to jobs. We can discuss capstone after this meeting, Shayna. Anyway, our capstone's also still not done, but that's a work in progress. Anyways, started applying to jobs in June, July. And I got the offer in August, which is when I moved. My apartment lease wasn't even ready before I started work at CBS, so I had to live in an Airbnb for a week, which was not too fun. But yeah, I guess I knew I wanted to move to LA before I got the job, but the job was also kind of the main reason why I moved. And then I applied to this position because I love post-production. My end goal is to become an editor. That's my favorite part of post, but like I've done a lot in post-production at Syracuse. I think I took just every post-production class offered. except for one, which was like Shayna's Friday first semester class that I didn't take. Sorry about that, but I took everything else, so that's what counts. So what I do in my job as a post-production coordinator is, since I'm in the marketing department, if you're watching TV, usually like some of the end credits will play and then you'll notice it like shrinks and then you see like a promo, and specifically at CBS, I'll have like the logo right here. So half my job is making those. I'm on 3 different shifts. So my first shift is called end credits, which is what I'm on now. And I'm working in After Effects and Avid for those. And I literally just make the end credits. And then my other shifts are called day shift and night shift. And those are a little more boring than saying I make the end credits. With those, I'm more in like tracking softwares to track the productions of all the CBS trailers and promos. And I do a lot of stuff during that shift, but it's really hard to describe exactly what I'm doing. But essentially I'm just like shipping out all the promos and trailers and making sure that they get done on time and that they end up in New York at the right time, right day, so they can air on TV. And with that, I have like my normal 9 to 6 hours, but then I also have the occasional night shift, which is 4:45 to 1:45, which is not really fun, but it is just something you got to do. And I know that a lot of jobs in post-productions will have a night shift, no matter like what area you're in. So it's just something you can't really avoid, and it's not too bad. And then, yeah, my goal from here is just to keep climbing the post-production path to eventually become an editor. And I think using After Effects and Avid daily is a huge help in that. And yeah, Jack, if you want to take it away.
Sure. Yeah. So I spent my last semester at SULA, which was really great for me because when I was in Syracuse, I feel like I didn't really focus on my career. Like, this is my first SUP meeting ever. But SULA was really good for me because it put me in LA, and I, right off the bat, really the only thing I had was my reel from Shayna's class. So I sent that out to a VFX vendor, and I got a job as an intern. And even though I only knew Fusion, was it? Yeah. And the boss took me in and trained me in After Effects, and I was working on the Bill Nye show. You might have heard The End Is Nigh. I did a lot of stuff for that. There's a local commercial in LA that plays all the time. It's like 2 people morphing into each other at a casino. And I did that like completely on my own. So I'm pretty proud of that. If you live anywhere near Morongo, you might see, or LA, you might see Morongo casinos. I did that. Yeah, so I moved out to LA, finished SULA semester, and that company where I was doing just work, it was all in After Effects. We also did the show called The End Game. It got canceled after 1 season, unfortunately. But yeah, so they offered me a job to stay out there. So the day after I graduated from Syracuse, I was only in Syracuse for graduation week, and then I flew right back to to LA. And I started a job at Filmworks. But I also, one of my professors, the last day of school, said, I have a job as a page at CBS. So I applied, and the next day I had interviewed and got the job. So I decided I'd do both jobs part-time. And then that job turned out to me, at the moment, I was like, I don't want to do this visual effects job. Like, this is really boring. I want to be a page. That sounds really fun. And I was going to quit the VFX job, but thank God I didn't, because it turned out that I ended up loving the VFX job. Well, not loving, I liked it. And then I really didn't like the page job, because I was pretty much, it turned out to just be like me being a glorified usher for live audiences. I worked at the same studio that Cammy did. I also worked in the mailroom there, which, you know, it's the mailroom. But I would also just, when I was in the mailroom, I was constantly applying to jobs, because I was like, I gotta get out of here. And I figured, I have some VFX on my resume. I have CBS on my resume. So I was just applying to CBS jobs, really. And I got an interview for a VFX coordinator job. That was in May. And then I interviewed, like, I think it was 5 times over the course of the rest of the year, with just different people, like, going up the ladder. And it was really stressful. But eventually this one woman, Sherry, she liked me enough that she had a friend that needed some, like, production assistant work. So she was like, oh, we last minute need a production assistant. So I did that just for a weekend. And the guy ended up liking me that I worked with there. Didn't hear anything back from him. Then January 1st of this year, I get an email from Paramount saying, we need you to start immediately. So then as a you know, production assistant. So that's the job I have now. Eventually I met the executive that interviewed me. Her name is Sherry. And she was like, oh, by the way, what's his name said hi. I honestly forget his name. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember him. Like, that was nice. The guy I worked with over the weekend. She was like, yeah, by the way, like, that's my boyfriend. And I was like, oh, that's how I got this job, is I just did that one-off weekend thing. And I clicked with the guy who was running it. It was actually Meta Connect. Like, Meta did like a weekend, like a live stream thing. So I assisted for that. Yeah. And I just clicked with that one guy, and it turned out to be an executive at Paramount's girlfriend. And you know, he said to her that I was really good. So when they needed an assistant, like, they emailed me, and that's how I got my job. So, and now I'll talk about my job later, but Tanner, you're next.
Okay, mine is actually a little similar to Jack's in that it was like kind of through connections were how I got here, but it has nothing to do with post-production, I'll be completely honest. I do not do post-production now. I do a little bit, which we'll talk about. But yeah, so I was an IC student, so I did the ICLA program actually after I graduated. They offered it because COVID messed a lot of things up. And I was like, never been to the West Coast. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it. Me and 3 of my close friends all were like, let's room together. And we spent 5 months in LA interning. I interned at like a small production company and then a big management company, and I was a production intern there, and it was really cool. I loved it, wanted to stay. So we officially like graduated and stayed out in Los Angeles, and then the job hunt began. I was applying for like about like 10 jobs a day. Like, my spreadsheet of like tracking was insane. It was crazy. But I ended up getting a call about one of my applications for the Paramount Pictures page program, because I don't know if you guys will ever watch 30 Rock, but like NBC page program, I kind of was like, oh, that sounds like a cool job. I think I'm energetic enough to do that. And I got an interview for it. And to prepare for the interview, I went on LinkedIn. I said, please, I hope there was an Ithaca alumni that was a Paramount Pictures page. And there was. He was a page years ago, but I reached out to him. We had a great conversation. He kind of told me what the job was like and what kind of the tasks were like and what the interview was like. And it really prepped me for it. I ended up interviewing it. I got that job. I was a page for about 8 months. I don't know if it's kind of like in the same boat as Jack, but the Paramount Pictures page program.
Not at all. Yours is that was much harder than what I was doing. Yeah.
I don't know. You never know. But the Paramount Pictures page program is basically a 2-year program where you are primarily a tour guide. So if someone takes a studio tour of the lot, you are their guide. You get to drive the golf cart. You wear a cool suit. It's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. And so I was a tour guide for a while. I did some cool stuff. I worked on Dr. Phil for a little bit. I worked on this TV show called Legendary, which was like a drag sort of like voguing competition. It was sweet. And then once you do tours for a little bit, they transfer you into doing some more like admin work, kind of just like to increase your like, it's really like entry level. They're trying to just like increase your overall skills to get you farther up in Paramount. So I started working on like a call center. So if you were to like call Paramount Pictures, the general number you find online, a page is going to answer. So that was me. And then super lucky, but one day my boss was like, hey, I have a utility desk for you. And so I don't know, Jack, if you guys have this, but if anyone on the Paramount lot kind of needs help, what they'll do is they can hire like a temporary page for a little bit. And so she reached out to me and she was like, are you going to be free this day? I said, yes, absolutely. Because you always say yes, absolutely, unless it's crazy. And I worked with a assistant to an SVP of legal affairs at Paramount Pictures for one day. And it was great. We bonded so much. We talked about Star Trek. I literally was never seen Star Trek in my life, but we had a great 4-hour conversation about it. And I really got to know him, and kind of similar to Jack, I guess we developed a connection. So a couple weeks later, he asked me to come back, and he was on vacation for 2 weeks. So I manned his desk. So I was the assistant to an SVP of legal affairs at Paramount Pictures for about 2 weeks. Super cool. I was so nervous, but it was a great opportunity. The SVP is a very friendly person. When my time was kind of coming up, they said, hey, are you interested in like possibly looking at other roles? I said, absolutely. I don't know any, like, I'm not a lawyer, so I didn't really want to go into legal with Paramount, but I was really open for anything. And he said there was an assistant position opening up. So I said I would love to be considered. I sent him my resume, applied for the position. I knew who the actual lawyer was. I've worked with her before. So it was kind of like I knew everybody, I knew the process and everything. So I was getting ready. I called a wonderful recruiter, and she got me prepped for the interview, got me all scheduled. And then the day of the interview, she called me at like 9 a.m. My interview was at 12. I had like my iron shirt. I was so ready. And she said they went with someone else. And I was like, oh my God. But she was like, but I really enjoyed our phone conversation, and there's a position on my team that I would like you to interview for. And I said, absolutely. So I interviewed for that, and I ended up getting that position, and that was a talent acquisition coordinator. So I started that, and I would think like a little bit like late August of last year. And I immediately started out working on the corporate team. So I would hire for like really big roles, like SVPs, EVPs, like of global distribution, these huge roles that unfortunately, if anyone came to me asking for a job, I could not help you out. So it was nice. I got my like foot in the door there. But last year, Paramount was like in a little bit of like a slower hiring process, as a lot of studios were. And the one team that needed help was our internship team. So they kind of moved me to there where I was working on both sides. I fell in love with my coworkers on the internship team, and then I recently got converted to them full time. So now I specifically hire tech-based interns, which are like software engineers, tech project management, kind of more on that side. So it's not really like post-production. But during our internship hunt for the summer, we had a few post-production recs come into play, and my recruiter was nice enough to kind of like let me lead the charge because she knew I had the experience, she knew I went to school for that. And also another fun fact, I helped run one of Paramount's verified social media accounts. So I do a little post-production because I edit some TikTok videos. But the reason that this kind of relates to you guys is because I do work in early careers and internships. So I have tons of advice for getting your kind of foot through the door at Paramount. I've learned so much. I've seen probably like 5,000 plus resumes and like deeply reviewed them. I also think, I saw him earlier, but I don't want to put him on the spot, but I'm pretty sure there's a future Paramount intern in this chat. Is Jack Dumpsey still here? Jack,
Yeah,
you're an intern this summer, right?
yeah. I'll be interning with Big Brother, working across their social media platforms.
Yeah, so he went through that process that I helped work on, which is cool. But yay, Jack. But yeah, so that's kind of my job, and I mainly sort of handle the candidate like communication throughout the process. So I'll schedule the interviews. I'm so sorry, Molly. We get a lot of applications. If you apply again, you can reach out to me directly. I will make sure your application gets seen. But I handle a lot of the applicant communication. I go through resumes for my recruiter, all that. So yeah. I'll pass it back to Cammy.
Yeah, I also just realized I never really talked about how I got my job or like the start of that. I just saw Shayna sent capstone in the chat and I think I just like blacked out from that. But I'll go over that just really, really briefly. But basically like I took all I said was I started applying to jobs in the summer, but I never addressed how I got this job. But I started applying to jobs the summer after I graduated. And if you go to Syracuse and you haven't graduated yet and you're in Newhouse, there's something called the Newhouse Network. Definitely take advantage of that because it just gives you this database of people you can reach out to and they're willing to talk to you. So that's what I did. I like hit up a bunch of people on the Newhouse Network, but literally only heard back from maybe 2 or 3, which was not what I thought would happen. But I just think people don't check their emails, or they'll have like their Syracuse email there, but like aren't a student, so they don't receive those emails anymore. But anyways, I also would reach out to people on LinkedIn that went to Syracuse, lived in LA, and worked in post or were editors, and talk to them. But basically, my first, I guess, networking phone call was through Newhouse Network, and I talked with an editor who at the time worked for CBS, and we talked for maybe 30 minutes, but the biggest advice he gave me was what kind of jobs I should be looking for, like what entry-level jobs. And a lot of it is being a receptionist, like answering phones, mailroom, stuff like that. But he also said you should look into being a post-production coordinator, which that was the first time I ever heard that job title. I was like, all right, I'll do that. And he goes, yeah, you should check the Paramount job listing website and just like apply to something. And I'm like, okay. So I went to the Paramount job listing website, which if anyone wants to do that, I just typed it on Google Paramount jobs and I got there. And I saw post-production coordinator, and this was like one of the first jobs that I saw that didn't require 3 to 5 years already in the industry, but it was like, you need to know all these softwares. And luckily I knew Avid, I knew After Effects because I took the post-production classes at Syracuse. So I applied just through the online portal. Besides that guy I met 30 minutes ago, I didn't have any connections to CBS or Paramount. I just got lucky with that. And I applied to a bunch of jobs that summer. And I literally heard back from maybe 5. 3 were no's, the post-production coordinator job. And then halfway through my interview process with the CBS job, I'm like going off on a tangent right now, so sorry. But this is just saying network. Another person I networked with from the Newhouse Network, literally halfway through my CBS interviews, was like, oh, hey, my best friend's mom is looking for a post PA, like freelance, would only be for 3 weeks. Would you want to do that? And I was like, yes, like for sure. Like I was looking for anything at this point. So through him, I got this just freelance remote post PA job that I can just slap on my resume, where I was using Avid in a legitimate job. So halfway during my interview process, I was like, oh, hey, by the way, I updated my resume. I'm actually working as a post PA right now, and I'm using Avid every single day, which I think that was a big part of why they hired me, because on my resume, I had the Avid certification and everything, but I never used Avid in a real life job ever until that point. So even though I got my current CBS job, not really through networking, I think networking still played a huge part of that. But then, yeah, and then I got this job. It was like a month and a half of interviewing. It was really, really long. But by the time I got that phone call, I was the happiest person in the world. I was actually in Syracuse, like moving out when I got the call. So it kind of felt special that like I got my job offer while still being on campus, since like all my other friends got their job offers on campus, but like in the first semester, and I was like kind of like the last person. So it felt really good. And then besides that, I kind of talked about what I do during my job. I didn't mention that also part of my job is quality checking all the promos and trailers. So like I'm one of the last eyes before it airs to just everyone. So you just really got to pay attention, be on top of everything. And also being in Shayna's capstone, I was like the last eyes on our capstone. So I was used to being like that quality check person. But yeah, I can pass it back over to Tanner to kind of talk about all the Paramount CBS brands.
I'll be super quick with this, but something I learned, and I'm sure Jack and Cammy also learned this, is that Paramount is more than just Paramount. We are Paramount Global, so there's like tons of brands, probably some you didn't even like know that were in there that are in there. So just to go over a few that you might know and not kind of be surprised by, obviously CBS, so like all CBS News, sports, entertainment, all that. We have Paramount Plus, Paramount Pictures, Nickelodeon. I'm looking at my list, sorry. The CW, VH1, Awesomeness TV, MTV, Showtime, Comedy Central, BET, Pluto TV, which is a free streaming software, by the way. It's really cool. And then a couple of like global brands, global companies. So it is huge, like just the amount of opportunities that Paramount has. So if you're interested in any of those, definitely look up Paramount Careers, which I put in the chat. But yeah, I know we all work in kind of like different offices. If you guys want to talk like for like 1 or 2 minutes just about where you work and kind of some notable things about it.
Yeah, I could talk about my office. Well, I started at Television City Studios, which is a lot of live performances. So that's what I started doing, was seating audiences at the live performances. So like The Price is Right, Late with Corden, Bill Maher shot there. So that was really fun, actually, I used to sit on the side of The Price is Right stage. So when someone would win like a car, they would run off stage and I would like be like, that was so awesome, you did such a good job, and then take them back to their seat. All right. But then now I work on the Paramount lot, which is in Hollywood. It's like 10 minutes from my house. It's very historic. Tanner definitely knows more about it than me, because it was literally his job to talk about the history of the Paramount lot. So I don't know if you want to talk about it.
It's a lot. I learned about 8 hours of information about the lot. So if you want to talk outside of this about it, I'd be happy to. But it's a very historic lot. It's actually kind of small. I'm sure, Jack, like you can walk the whole entire lot in probably like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
From one end to the other.
The only thing I know about it is there's a cafeteria with good food and $10 poke bowls, and there's a gym on the lot, which is nice.
Yeah, there's also some cool sound stages, some notable history. There's four stump benches there. There's a lot of cool stuff, but there is a gym and a cafeteria. But yeah, and so I work, food is the way to go. I work actually like 2 minutes up from the lot on the corporate office, the Gower office, which is kind of like smack dab in the center of Hollywood. It's an office. Like, it's really cool though. Like you see the Hollywood sign, there's a bunch of cool like amenities and stuff. But yeah, and I also been to, I know there's a lot of East Coast people. Most of them are East Coast people here. New York, if you're in Times Square, you can see like the Paramount. It's literally in the heart of Times Square. It's called 1515. Broadway. That is the Paramount building there. Tons of people work there. I got to work there a couple weeks ago, and it is unbelievable with how many stuff they have. They have a fitness center, a movie theater, another Forrest Gump bench. There's actually 3 benches that they built for the movie. So one of them's there, one of them's alone in the lot. And then just a lot of cool stuff. So they like to treat their employees well with how awesome their offices are. How about CBS, Cammy?
Yeah, CBS does not have a gym or a cafeteria that I know of.
They
But
do have a cafeteria.
they do, there is?
Yeah,
Where is it?
it's not good.
Okay.
It's like
I
the
always
loading
go to
dock in the back of
Grove
the building.
anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, the CBS has their own like little private gate into the Grove, if anyone knows what that is, but it's basically like an outdoor mall. But they also have a farmer's market, which is really nice. And when I do go into the CBS lot, that's where I eat my dinners. But anyways, I work at the CBS lot. I'm literally never there though, because I'm on a hybrid schedule. And like I said before, I kind of have 3 different shifts. So end credits is 100% remote. So this is my office until the end of May, because I'll be on end credits until then. And then when I'm on day shift and night shift, I go into the office Tuesday through Thursday, and I get Monday and Friday remote. So because I'm remote, CBS hooked me up with the laptop I'm using now and a monitor and this cool Avid keyboard. But I have like my own little at-home office right in the middle of my apartment. So looks really nice with all the decor. But yeah, something cool about the CBS lot is obviously for all the late shows, there's always different celebrities coming in. And since I'm kind of new to LA, obviously I get a little starstruck still. And I like park right by where the celebrities park, and I like walk through the artist entrance. So anytime I do actually work, I always peek to see which celebrity is coming in. And this is kind of embarrassing, but not really. I'm proud of it. But I was a big One Direction girly back in the day. And Niall Horan was on the lot the other day. And I just completely freaked out when I walked into work, and my boss noticed, and she was like, "What is with you today?" And I was like, "Niall Horan is coming in today. Like, I need to see him." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, well, you can totally roam the halls around 2 p.m. That's when he should be coming in." So she was really chill about my little fangirling episode to her. And I did roam the halls looking for him. But he came in early and I was really disappointed, and I didn't see him, but I did see his car. He did drive himself there and instead of taking like one of the blacked out SUVs. So there's my little fun story about Niall.
This is a little off topic. It'll be really quick, I promise. But if you're ever in LA and you want to see celebrities, yes, you can see them on studio lots. I saw a lot at Paramount. But I worked at the AMC Sunset 5 in West Hollywood, the little small AMC. I worked there for about a month, and I saw so many famous people. It was unreal. Robert Pattinson, Danny DeVito.
Oh
it
my
was
goodness.
crazy. So go there if you want to see celebrities.
I should be running into more than I am, and I'm disappointed. And my mom like texts me every week to ask which celebrities I've met, and I have nothing to give her. So
Yeah, same. I don't see any celebrities on the Paramount lot. What I did want to go back to just what I do at my job, and the difference between, I'm on contract. So once we are done filming the TV show and the movie, I won't have a job anymore. So that, 2 years or whatever, and then I'm done. It's a different way to work. I don't really know how you would even apply for a job like this to be on a production? Do they even post these jobs? Or, we could ask Tanner that, but my job is I am pretty much a middleman between the VFX production team and all of the animators and the build team. So, I also want to talk about just working on a production is nice because your job is never the same. It's like as the production goes on, your job is completely changing. Like when we first started, we didn't have shot grid set up at all. And the script is changing every day and you're getting new animatics every day. And now my job is completely different. We're reviewing work from the animators and the build team on a daily basis and creating previs. And then we just started filming on Monday. So, at the end of this week, we're probably going to start prevising and then into final. And so my specific job is a lot of what I do is just setting up reviews with the director. So shot grid is everything. Shot grid is my life right now. Shayna told me to learn it and I didn't. It was a big mistake. But yeah, so basically my job right now is making sure the artists have all of the reference work they need to do their job, and then tracking all of their work, making sure they're doing their work on time, and then collecting all of their work, putting it into a playlist, and scheduling meetings with directors, supervisors, whoever needs to see the work, furiously taking notes in shot grid as the director says, zoom in, zoom out, change this, omit this shot, putting it into shot grid, and then restarting the process. That's what my job is right now. Yeah.
I know we only have like 20 minutes left, so we were going to talk about job advice for us three, but I feel like that will go hand in hand with any questions you guys may have. If we want to go to questions, I don't know, Shayna, what do you think? Or Brad?
I think Jack should say what he's learned from not getting a computer.
Yeah, they gave me the option it was either $50 a week for 3 months or whatever, or get a work computer. And I chose the $50 a week, but now my computer is getting really slow and all of my storage is full and I made a mistake. And now I've been avoiding the email to the Paramount people being like, can I have a work computer and don't charge me $500, please? But I'm gonna beg for it soon and probably get it. I did write down some things that I wanted to know. Like when I first started the job, I think the biggest thing is just being honest when you don't know things. If you've ever trained someone, you'll know it right away when people ask questions. It just helps so much. So whenever you're starting a new job, just be very honest when you don't know something, because people can tell if you don't know something. So just say it. I think another thing I learned is starting this job, you'll be on long email chains with many, many people. And I think when I first started the job, I was like, oh, I'll just respond to this one person and no one has to hear because I'm not going to bother anyone. No, that's not the way to do it, especially on a production. Just when in doubt, just CC everyone. You'll figure out eventually who to CC, but that's something I was a first mistake was just CC. Everyone wants to know what's going on all the time. In terms of contacts, the people you're around right now are your best contacts. That's what they used to always say at SULA. The friends I have in LA, the Syracuse people were looking out for each other, and it doesn't always have to be older people. It can be the people on this call right now. When they get a job, we'll help each other get a job. A few of my friends that are the same age as me, graduated with me, got me a few interviews. So, keep in touch with the people that you are in school with right now, and take as many interviews as possible, because, interviewing is so important, and just doing it is the only way to get really good at it. That was the advice that I wrote down.
I know one of the questions was, what can you do senior year to prepare yourself? Jack's was learn shot grid. Cammy's was get certified in Avid. Anything else?
Have an updated LinkedIn and keep it updated.
Make a website.
Yeah.
Make a reel. Just
I wish I went to those like career fairs and just take advantage of everything Syracuse is giving you, like the network and the career fairs and all that good stuff. Because once you graduate, you know, and your email is like, I've got deactivated and now I don't have access to anything, and it's sad. You know, you don't know what
lost
you
all
have
my
until you lose
Avid
it.
notes, and I'm really upset about that. But yeah, take advantage of your professors. In Shayna's animation class, like the requirement was to make a reel, and kind of like figure out how to brand yourself. So that class was probably one of the most helpful classes I've taken. And then also after I graduated, I think I sent Shayna my resume like 8 different times. Like she really helped me fix it up, word it correctly, because you can take your resume to anyone. I know like Newhouse has I don't even know what it's called anymore, but the people
CDC.
yeah, I took my resume there, and the person helping me, just post-production is very niche, and you should definitely take advantage of the post-production people around you, because other people just don't really get how the post community works. So Shayna definitely helped me with my resume, and that's the resume I sent to CBS. So obviously it worked. And then I mentioned before using Newhouse Network and LinkedIn. I'm still on LinkedIn, like messaging random Syracuse people to go get coffee. Once you move to the place you want to work, definitely meet up with those connections in person. It shows that you're interested, and they'll like keep you in the back of their mind or reach out to you on their own. But just putting in that effort and showing that you are a hard worker and you're ready to do whatever it takes, it really does show. And every coffee that I've gotten with someone in LA, every single time they told me, you're doing the right thing, keep doing this. The fact that you're with me right now, just talking to me in person, shows that you want like this job. So just networking is huge, and just do it your whole life, never stop.
Yeah. I
Yes,
concur.
I agree with everything you said. I guess like if you guys are students looking for internships, some like advice I have for like personal experience and what the recruiters that I work for look at, tailor your resume to the job. That's one of the biggest things. If there's keywords in that job description, put them in your resume. But also don't lie, because the worst thing you want to have happen is you get an interview, you get the job, they find out you lied on your resume, and then you're like blacklisted from that company. And we don't want that. But yeah, like tailor, if it's a job that's kind of related to like a specifically like Avid, then and you have experience with Avid, make sure that's known on your resume. Put not only just like put like bullet points that say used Avid for this project. They like give statistics in a way where like kind of use numbers, make it quantitative, because they want to know like worked on a 3-month project using Avid 5 days a week to produce this, which was seen by over so many people. That's more impressive than worked on Avid for this film project where I was a editor for. So that's a huge thing. And just like what Cammy said, don't be afraid to just like message random people that you find on LinkedIn that work at a company. even if they're not part of your network, just do it. The worst they can say is I'm no, or the worst they can say is they don't reply. So there's no harm in doing it. I just don't be like stalkerish and keep messaging them and like find their personal email. That's insane. But yeah, just don't be afraid to do that. And yeah.
Also, I just remembered, if you want to be like a build artist or something like that, all of our artists use or an animator, all of our people use either Maya or Blender. That's what we're using right now. That's important to anyone. Also Excel, like I got Excel certified. You're not going to find a job that doesn't use Excel. So, and Outlook. So
Airtable. If you don't know Airtable, there was a part post about Airtable. You should watch it. It is a lifesaver.
There may be
and
another one in a couple weeks.
go to that because I use Airtable constantly, and I don't know if Jack and Cammy do, but it is the most amazing software on earth.
Yeah, it's good.
Tanner, do you want to talk about some typical entry-level jobs that people should be looking out for?
Yeah, so I did look on our like careers page before this meeting to see if there were kind of anything. I'll let you guys know internship wise, we are kind of on our like end of the hiring road, meaning that all of our summer interns are mainly hired. We do have a few open positions. So if there are internships that you find on the Paramount career site that interest you, please let me know. I can get you in contact with the recruiter. But in terms of full-time roles, which I know a lot of you are looking for, you should kind of, I would recommend using keywords as in that is the location of where you're looking for, obviously, and use words as coordinator, assistant, literally just post-production. Just make sure you're reading through job descriptions. The majority of jobs that are entry level right now within Paramount that I can find are like assistants, executive assistants, kind of like what Cammy was saying, that sort of like receptionist work. And yeah, it might not be like what your dream is, but it's a step in the right direction. Especially, I know I saw like, I think it was an assistant for like, I think it was VFX within Paramount that was open. So don't be afraid to apply to that. And even though you might not be doing post like immediately, if you might meet the right people and it just might lead you that way. So that's the advice that I would give you there. Also, just even if like there's no positions opening, like reach out to people like Jack, people like Cammy, because they'll be the first ones to know if there's someone on their team that they're hiring. And having that connection, they can be like, oh wait, I talked to this guy and they might be a good fit, and this girl kind of knows this, and they can be an employee referral, which is amazing.
I also just, Tanner might not love to hear this, but there are so many jobs that aren't at big companies like Paramount and Warner Brothers. Like, I feel like I probably wasted a lot of time applying to jobs that had 200 applicants on it. Meanwhile, especially in the VFX world, there are so many vendors out there that you could work at, that the entry level job like might even pay a little bit more. I know most of the people I'm working with right now, you know, they worked at DNEG before this. None of them started at Paramount. So that's definitely a viable way to go.
And I think being open, so like Cammy, for example, she's a coordinator, but she's still editing. So I think that's something to be open to, that because it doesn't say like junior editor in her name, doesn't mean it doesn't have that kind of task. So they're looking for people who can do like lots of different things and take on a lot of different roles for one job instead of hiring 5 people these days. So the more things you can do, the more you look like someone they want to hire. So Cammy, do you want to talk about that for a sec?
I can definitely talk about that. Yeah, because half my job is creative, like After Effects and Avid only, and the other half is just not whatsoever. And whenever I have these check-ins with my boss, she always asks me like, what's my favorite part? And every time I say the end credits, because I'm more of a creative person and she knows I want to be an editor. So I'm like, and I get to edit. So obviously I love that. But I still love my other half of the job too, because it's really like organization, being on top of everything you're doing, but also almost managing what other people are doing, which in a way I did that during capstone. So on my cover letters and in my interview, I kind of wrote like, hey, like I was the editor on my capstone, but I was the only editor. So because of that, I also, and our capstone was a VFX capstone for those who don't know. But because I was the editor, I had to track the VFX shots and make sure everything was getting done on time and reach out to people if something wasn't getting done. And on top of that, then I had to like import all the shots and all of that, manage the hard drives. So that looked really, really good, even though I could have just said, oh, I was an editor on this and I was also a VFX artist, so I know these softwares. But instead, I kind of explained everything as a whole. So I think that's a big part of why I got this job. And again, like I still want to be an editor. And even if I wasn't doing this job, if I was doing something not in post, my biggest advice is if you have a goal, keep doing that outside of your work. Like right now, as Shana knows, we're still working on capstone, so I'm still editing. If Ben Teolis is on here, we meet up every single week. He was also in the same capstone, but wasn't on our project. It was doing his own thing, but I'm helping him edit his stuff. And like the other weekend, I'm on this softball team, and one of the it's like 35-year-old guy on the team was like, oh my God, you know Avid? I was like, yeah, I know Avid. So like I went over to his apartment and just like sat and kind of like taught him Avid and edited for him for like a few hours. And even though like I'm not getting paid for like that at all, but
That's the most Los Angeles story I've ever heard in my life. Like
literally,
I know 18 people that have met people through softball and got them jobs.
yeah. But like in a way, that's like networking. He knows I know Avid. He's older than me. Like he can recommend me if like for some reason I need him to recommend me for something. But like it's a good way to network without networking and just keeping up your skills. So yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Well, we are getting close to 9. So are there any questions that we haven't hit yet? I know people are going to want to reach out to you guys. There was a question about Tanner, if you would be available to look at some resumes potentially. But I do see Josh has his hand up.
Hello. Hi, Tanner. Hi, everybody else who I don't know in this chat. I don't know if this is too off topic, and Tanner, if you know this specifically off the top of your head, but with the current PWA contract negotiations, have you seen across all of the divisions from Paramount, like, have you seen a hiring freeze or like a hesitation to greenlight a lot of projects?
I feel like Cammy and Jack also might be able to speak well on this. But I mean, I know like last year there was like a little bit of a slow period. I know that's not a freeze though. I try to stay updated with a lot of media companies because I know like the job like hunt is hard now, especially with like film jobs. And I'm sure most of you that's because of freezes, but I don't know if, I mean, it might just because like the interns are still going, so we're still hiring like 200 interns, so that's why I'm in the loop with all that. But Cammy and like Jack, do you guys have anything like to speak on that? Since you guys are in the actual content world.
I'm just like coworkers talking about layoffs at VFX vendors that I know of, but not like I don't know anything about projects being greenlit.
Same.
I feel like if projects are like, there's a lot of new stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff coming out with Paramount right now, especially with Paramount Plus, and they're trying to expand that brand with Pluto TV and kind of get it bigger. So I don't know if you guys have Paramount Plus, but it kind of grew massively within the past year. It's becoming I feel like a big streaming software. So I would assume that most projects are kind of still in being produced and going to the next stages, but that's a great question though. I don't know the exact logistics.
What usually happens in a writer's strike is reality shows get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
really?
yeah, that was what in local 700, that's what they were talking about. That was in 2007. There was a human unscripted television show, because that was all what production companies and studios make. So not to scare all the students that are about to be entering the job market. It's going to be fine. It's just there's also just the reality of like a potential strike happening at the beginning of May.
Yeah. Well, on that note, you could. I think it's always a good idea to keep your mind open to different jobs. Like I'm sure Tanner, I don't think you thought this is the job you would have, but you love it. You kept your mind open, and you never know where you're gonna end up.
If Brad went up to me when I was in his class and said, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" I would not say recruiting. So
Yeah.
is what happens. But I think Shayna, like people can certainly send me resumes. I would also recommend going to your college's career center, because they probably know more than me, and they most likely definitely know more than me. But I do see a lot of resumes, and I know kind of what to look for within job descriptions. So I'd be happy to look at stuff. And as always, since you guys are like Syracuse and Ithaca and everything, and we're like one big connection, if there's a Paramount job that you see and you want to apply for it and you apply, please let me know. I might not have any connection to it, but I do know a lot of recruiters in Paramount, and I'd be happy to kind of pass your resume along.
I'm gonna send you my resume. Definitely.
Yeah, go for it.
Can you each put your preferred way of contact in the chat?
Yes.
Yeah, Josh, what happened last time? The 2007-2008 writer's strike. Post-production got hit 2008-2009, so LA became dead then. And that's when like online content, like independent people making their own content became huge, because they didn't have to write it under union. They did it for themselves. So like Dr. Horrible, that came out of that. If anyone remembers that was like the first big hit. And that kind of started all the internet shows to the age we're in now. So I think strikes bring change. So the industry, if it goes through and it lasts for a while, like the one did 12 years, 15 years ago, I don't know what year it is, then it changed our industry forever. So do you see it, Josh? Do you see anything happening in New York being affected?
I haven't seen, I mean, I've been out of the job market for a while since my current job. I've been on since the very beginning of September, but with the conversations that I've been involved with Local 700, people both in New York and Los Angeles say there's been almost about like a 30% decrease in green lights of movies overall, especially for union shows. There's been like a lot of people struggling with their $100 with the MPI per quarter. But everybody is super enthusiastic about the WGA and where they're heading. I think what they're asking for, especially with the DGA contract negotiations shortly after the WGA goes to the ends their negotiation, or when like the term comes up on May 1st. Everybody seems very like enthusiastic and overwhelmingly like positive about a strike happening and like what good it's going to just be doing just further down the line for like workers in general, just like people in the industry.
Yeah.
Fun times. But it's you know it's slay. It's all slay. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you're in post now. You're safer.
yes, and I am. That is true. So.
You can switch back to production when post is dead.
Switching back to production. Well, I mean, we'll see what the WGA was able to write about artificial intelligence.
True.
Contract. So, really love AI. So, gotta love it.
Chat GPT union.
Sure. Yeah, making scripts on Chat GPT. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, does anyone have anything else for Jack and Cammy? Tanner had to go. If not, we be done.
Thank you so much, Jack and Cammy. That was excellent. I already thanked Tanner.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone.
Jack, are you gonna come back?
Yes.
Good answer.
On the spot.